Okay, it is 7:03 on January 7th, 2021. This is our first meeting of the Oakridge City Council coming to order. Calling it to order, both via Zoom as well as in person at the WAC. Let's all rise or straighten yourselves up in your chairs as you normally do and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Brian, will you begin? Brian, are you there? Perhaps Brian isn't there. So I will begin.
Mayor, sorry, I was muted. Let me do that again.
Okay, try it again.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America,
to the republic
to the
which
republic
stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you. Jackie, will you call the roll?
Yes. Do I call?
Go ahead and count.
Everyone, even though we haven't done the swearing in?
Yes, even though. Let's go ahead and just, so we know who's here.
Okay. Mayor Holston?
Here.
Councillor Bjarnson?
here,
Councillor Whitney?
Here.
Councillor Coker?
Here.
Councillor Hollett?
Here.
Councillor Kenyon?
Here.
Councillor Spleedoff?
Here.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, our first order of business on our agenda, number 4, is the oath of office. Each of you new counselors and newly re-elected Councillor Kenyon, received in your packet the oath of office. As Audie pointed out, the packet, I just want to point out to everybody, puts his name down as Omar, and he has asked that he be referred to by his official name as Audie. So he will use Audie when he says his. If there is any other corrections in your oath of offices as far as how your name appears, please use the name that you prefer, and that will be fine. When I ask you to repeat the oath of office, Jackie will ask you to repeat the oath of office. You will do that, and then I will welcome you, and you will have the opportunity to say a few words to council and to the community. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's awesome. So let's start with Councillor-elect Bjarnson. Melissa, are you prepared?
yes, I am.
Jackie, I'll let you lead.
Sorry, I didn't know I was doing anything.
Oh, okay, you don't have to, it's okay.
No, I will.
Okay, go for it.
So just ask her to repeat the oath of office.
That's correct.
Okay. Melissa, will you state the oath of office, please?
With pleasure. I, Melissa Bjarnson, do solemnly swear and affirm that I support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the state of Oregon, and of the charter, ordinance, and rules of procedures for the city of Oakridge, and that I will faithfully and honorably perform the duties of the office for which I am about to assume.
Thank you, Melissa, and welcome.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything?
Just that I'm really happy to be joining you guys, and I look forward to the next few years.
That's wonderful. We're glad you're here. Okay,
Thank you.
let's move on to Michelle. Now, Michelle, is your last name pronounced Coker? Is that correct for me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Will you go ahead, Jackie?
Okay. Michelle Coker, would you state the oath of office?
Yes, ma'am. I, Michelle Coker, do solemnly swear and affirm that I support the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America and the state of Oregon, and of the charter, ordinances, and rules and procedures of the city of Oakridge, and that I will faithfully and honestly perform the duties of the office for which I am about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, and welcome, Counselor Coker. Do you have anything you would like to share with us?
Just want to say thank you to the community for putting me in this position. I look forward to working with everyone.
Wonderful. We're glad you're here. Let's move on to Counselor Kenyon. Jackie?
Counselor Kenyon, would you state the oath of office?
Yes, I will. Thank you. I, Dawn Kenyon, do solemnly swear and affirm that I support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the state of Oregon, and of the charter, ordinances, and rules of procedures for the city of Oakridge, and that I will faithfully and honorably perform the duties of the office for which I am about to assume.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Kenyon. Do you have anything you would like to share?
The same as the others before me, I would like to thank the community for voting me into this next 4 years position. I look forward to working with the council and with all of it, with the community.
We're glad you're here, Counselor Kenyon. Thank you. And last but not least, Audie. Jackie, will you go ahead?
Audie Sleetoff, would you repeat the oath of office or read the oath of office?
I would be glad to do that. I, Audie Sleetoff, do solemnly swear and affirm that I support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the state of Oregon, and all of the charter, ordinances, and rules of procedures for the city of Oakridge, and that I will faithfully and honorably perform the duties of the office for which I am about to assume.
Thank you.
Thank you, Audie, and welcome. Do you have anything you would like to share?
I want to thank all of the citizens of Oakridge that have made their way to put me into this position, and I want to try to be helpful for them, and I want to make Oakridge new and try to let the people be heard.
Thank you, Counselor Sleetoff. We will now move to number 5 on your agenda, which is additions, corrections, or adjustments to the agenda. Brian, do you have any adjustments?
Yes, I do. Item 16.1, the council should have received the additional application. Item 16.2, again, an additional application. And I'd like to remove item 16.3. The applicant was otherwise scheduled today, so we'd like to delay that until the next session.
All right. So changed. I don't have any additions, corrections, or adjustments. Counselors, do you have any that you would like to add?
I have a couple things, and I have an.
Go ahead, Counselor Hollett.
The application today for budget committee that came in today at last minute, I didn't get enough time to review that, and I would prefer that we be able to have a chance to look at that before we vote on that one today. I'm fine with the.
Counselor Kenyon, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that I didn't know we had new applicants, so I was going to try and find, I'm assuming those got emailed to us.
Did you see that? So I guess I want to clarify, are you referring to the most recent one that went today or the 2 that came out yesterday?
I'm really sorry, but I guess I wasn't aware of any new. I've only seen the ones that came in the packet.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and hold off on all the appointments for the, let's see, so Counselor Kenyon, did you see John McClendon's addition
Oh, wait, I did see that. When
Okay.
did it-
for planning commission then?
That was a couple days ago, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I did see that.
Okay, and let me see what else I have here.
I
Brian,
think that's all I have.
Brian, can you enumerate which addition we had for 16.2?
For clarification, for me, it was only the application that came in today for budget committee. The other ones.
Okay.
had a change.
Okay, thank you. Was there any besides Mr. McClendon's that came in yesterday, Brian?
Is the budget committee came in, was mailed out yesterday, and let me pull that. See if
Okay.
you can recognize it. Let's see.
Yesterday?
Mrs. Janet Christensen.
Yeah, it was
did an
Janet
application.
Christensen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that one got sent out yesterday. And that's the only other one we're talking about, other than Councilor or Mr. McClendon?
McClellan.
Well,
McClellan, I'm sorry.
yes, yes.
Okay, all right. So we will hold off then if the council is in agreement on the addition to the budget committee until our next meeting. And I'm sorry that you didn't see it, but if you feel like you would like more time, then we will do that. How
Mayor,
many
if I might,
positions do we have? Yes.
I'd like to just apologize to Mrs. Christensen. I should have tried to not rush it as much as I did to get her in there, but I was being pressed by the budget training session next week, so which we're
I
going to
know.
slide. So I apologize, Mrs. Christensen. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I apologize also. I'm sorry that no, I'm not sorry you logged in because I hope you stay, but but I am sorry that you anticipated something that we're going to hold off on until our next meeting in January. So thank you. Councilor Kenyon, I think I see your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. I would hope that if we're doing some training next week, that she might attend that anyway, because any citizen would be allowed to attend. And then furthermore, I'm wondering if I'm glad we're taking applications up to the minute, but maybe not this close for us to consider. Because I've been talking to a lot of people too about applying for different committees, and hopefully by the end of this month we'll be able to make appointments. But maybe we should just kind of set a deadline that 48 hours before the meeting, no more received for that.
We can have that discussion at a later date. But I don't disagree with you. So I will put that in my notes to talk about that. And we'll move on to any more additions or corrections.
Mayor,
All right, having none, we're
Mayor,
going
to
to move.
clarify.
Yes,
So are we
Yes.
delaying all the appointments or just the budget committee for Mrs. Christensen?
just the budget committee,
Well,
just the budget committee.
Mr. Weimholt has a application that was filed in the packet, so I would ask that he be allowed to be considered.
Oh, for the budget?
Yes, ma'am. A reapplication.
Yes.
He's already a member. He needs to reapply.
Is he applying? I'm sorry. I want to make sure I know what I'm doing. I thought he was applying for the planning commission.
He's doing that too.
Same here. I didn't see that there was an application for the budget committee. Was that separate?
No, it was in the
Hold on,
packet.
maybe
It was
I
in the
just-
packet.
Okay.
It's listed on the
Well-
agenda as two separate things, I think.
Oh, yes, I do see two separate ones. You are right. It is in the packet. So yes, we will, his is included. We will go ahead and vote. We have more than one space for the budget committee. I don't see that as an issue.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to number 6, public comment. So this is the way this works. If you have Let me make
I'm really
my-
sorry, Kathy. I had a couple things I wanted to add to the meeting.
Oh, you do? Okay, go ahead, please. Tell me what they are.
I was hoping further down on the meeting agenda, we could have a spot where we talk about a possible work session to go over council rules. I also have some questions about the City of Westford contract. And I also have questions about the contract for the city's engineer. And if we could just pin those somewhere to the end of the meeting.
Well, we'll put that in at business of the city council. 10.1 is election of a city council president, and we'll move on to 10.2, discussion of upcoming training and work sessions. And then 10.3, discussion of contract.
Thank you.
And is that agreeable to the rest of the council?
Yes.
And I'm going to assume that's a yes. Okay, wonderful. Okay. Counselors, we are going to move into public comment. And since this is the first public comment session for some of our counselors, before I open it for public comment, I will remind you that our individual speakers need to be recognized by the presiding officer, which would be me. They always say their name and address. They're given 3 minutes to speak or less. The council is not required to, and probably in many cases should not engage in a discussion or a back and forth. This is not an arena for us to have a back and forth discussion of any substance. However, it is absolutely appropriate to say thank you, or to ask a clarifying question, or to ask me to direct the city administrator to, or whoever is appropriate, to discuss with that individual further some of their concerns. And so that's how we normally do that. And that's what that is printed in the public comments for. So I'm opening it up to public comments. First, is there anybody at the WAC? And Brian, let me know if there is, who would like to speak.
No, Mayor, there's no one here that would like to comment.
All right, so let me open up my participant look here, and that way I can see folks. Because on Zoom it's a little bit difficult, I would ask that anybody who would like to speak would unmute themselves and identify themselves, and then I can give you the order of how we'll take you. So I believe Kelly Maxfield, did you want to speak?
Yes, I do have something to say.
Okay, hold on, Kelly. Is there anybody else on Zoom that is looking to speak? I'm looking for people coming unmuted. Seeing none? Okay, Kelly, go ahead. Give us your name and your address.
I'm Kelly Maxfield. I live at 47598 Teller Road here in Oakridge. My comment has to do with the water bill. Multiple times I've had my water bill doubled. You can imagine my heart dropping when I see that number. Recently and in past bills, I've received a balance of 0, prompting me to call City Hall every time. It gets quite irritating. I'm not one to complain, but it keeps happening, so I'm here to address it. Looking into my water bill not having the correct information on it brought me to the e-billing services as a whole. It looks like the city uses 2 different billing systems depending on where you pay your bill from. You have the option of pay my water bill tab or log into your e-billing account to pay your bill there. I understand there's convenience fees involved. For e-billing, I agree to a 35-cent service fee. Out of my bank account comes $3.86. On my recent bill, I looked, and it looks like one of my service fees is billed in Indianapolis, Indiana, and the email receipt that I received came from Pennsylvania, which is just bringing up more questions for me. regarding our water bills as a whole, specifically the e-billing system. Those are just my bullet points. I do plan on writing a letter. I will probably make it public. I've already posted on Facebook about my concerns, but also for our city council members and local government to see. So please expect more details on my concerns, but that's what I have.
Thank you, Kelly. Kelly, have you addressed this issue with the administration at all?
Not yet, nope.
Okay, all right, so this is the first stab at it. So Brian, could you reach out to Kelly and see what we can do to resolve the situation? And that way she'll have more information as she pursues any other comments she wants to make, and we'll be able to make corrections if that is necessary.
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly.
Is there anybody else who would like to from the public or speak? Okay, I don't see anybody's little hand going off. So we'll move on to number 7, which is mayor's comments, announcements, and proclamations. All right, so first I want to read a letter. Yes, Councilor.
It's showing up on your screen, but I put my hand up. But
yeah, I can't see your face, and I didn't see a hand, Dan. So yes, of course. If do you want to say something?
Yeah, you can't see the face because I didn't turn the video on or put my pants on.
TMI, Dan. TMI.
It would be if I had video on. At any rate, in a word, after 14 years and 8 election cycles. First off, thank you everybody for the peaceful transition of power this week. In a word, for the voters of Oakridge, woohoo! I have waited so long to have a majority of this council with the capacity to speak for an entire city, not preference to one faction or another. And I am absolutely confident and so proud of the people, the 6 people I voted for on this council. And this last election, 10 participants, and Dawn Kenyon set a new all-time record for the votes received. Melissa is 3rd in the all-time. In a 10-person field, I mean, that is so significant. When you took your oath, you swore an allegiance to a charter, which is the foundation of council authority, everything you do, the authority to get elected, to have meetings, make decisions, everything you do, everything Oakridge, which is 3,280, not 7 that represent them. Everything Oakridge is that charter that has been distorted and interpreted and whatever. You have a duty to comply with that charter, not hold it in contempt. So I hope you've read the charter, read it again, read it again, read it again, and keep reading it until you understand it to the level that you can conform to that contract, because that's what it is, and not allow egos and personalities and personal preferences to undermine the foundation of all things Oakridge. Other than that, congratulations to you all. I am so proud of this council finally having a majority, a quorum or 4 or 5 willing to be the voice of the people they represent. And I am so glad you stepped up, and I sincerely hope you don't step down. You have the capacity to make a difference. I hope you have the courage and the conviction to do so, and time will tell.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
And
Thank you,
Dan, I
Dan.
will, yep, there you go. I will say that today I had the privilege of looking through, we believe maybe one of the original charter documents, typed up on onion skin, and it's quite the interesting charter and ordinance book to go through. It's kind of fallen apart a little bit, but it kind of gave me goosebumps as I was flipping through some of the pages. So thank you for that reminder to everyone. All right, let's move into mayor comments then. I want to start by reading a letter that was sent and asked to be read aloud to council and community. This is regarding Oakridge Toys for Tots program, addressed to the city administrator and asked to be read to council. This letter is, hold on. This letter is from Leo Robb of Oakridge, Oregon. And he says, Mike Cameron and I would like to thank you for your support this year for our Oakridge Toys for Tots program. 75 families with 159 children received toys, stocking stuffers, games, and stuffed animals under their Christmas tree thanks to your generous donations. Our program also provided 14 bicycles to local children. Due to the COVID-19 virus, we were required to offer a drive-through event. Parents remained in their vehicles and drove through the fire department vehicle bays. When parents registered on the previous day, parents provided a first, second, and third choice of toys for their children that their children may wish to receive. We would prepare a bag with the toys available to match the family's desires. We utilized the First Baptist Church of Oakridge's parking lot to stage vehicles. Parents were required to wear a mask and have adequate separation during both the registration and disbursement days. Our fundraising activities included local individuals and businesses and placing toy collection boxes at local businesses. Our continuous strong relationship with the Springfield Marine Corps Reserves helped to raise funds and toys for the Toys for Tots program. We would especially like to thank Brian for providing access to the fire department for the use of the apparatus bays and providing COVID-19 virus cleaning materials. Captain Eric Higdon and Lieutenant Nick Bruckner for their help with computer work and the reader boards. Thank you to previous OFD members Dale Gardner, Jim Stubblefield, and Patricia Martinson for helping in the disbursement. Thank you to Lori O'Neill and Susan Davis for helping with registration. Oakridge Toys for Tots program was featured in the December issue of the Lane Electric Cooperative Rural Light magazine. Oakridge began our program in the early 1980s with used toys. In 1991, the Oakridge program partnered with the Marine program and the focus transitioned to new toys. This year was again a huge success, and thank you for your continued help. Respectfully, Leo E. Robb, committee member. And thank you, Toys for Tots, for your continued efforts for Oakridge families and their kids. Let's move on and into the State of the City address. Hold on, let me get my papers here. How's my voice doing, Jackie? Am I crackling?
You're good.
Doing good.
Good. Thank you. Okay, let's see. I have this on my computer. I'm actually going to see if I can't do it that way and get started. Okay.
Kathy,
Yes.
have something on your keyboard now because now you're crackling.
Okay. Let's go back to what I was doing. And you let me know if
You're good right now.
am I good now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It doesn't like me to go on to a different screen, so we'll just stay on this one and I'll read from what I have. So good evening, everyone. 2021. I hesitate to say that this year will be challenging for our community because it seems that the definition of challenging is a moving target these days. So let me say rewarding rather than challenging, and I'll explain later. Our council has a strategic plan, and I would like to follow that plan as I share with you the path forward. First goal of ensuring
Speak it up, Kathy.
Oh dear, thank you.
Again.
Am I back in again? How am I doing?
Sound good
You're
now.
clear right now.
Okay. Our first goal was ensuring a safe community by partnering to protect people, property, and environment and provide efficient, sustainable, equitable public safety services. Primarily right now, what I want to talk about is to provide efficient and sustainable public safety services. This undoubtedly will require courage. It will take courage to set aside preconceived ideas to first absorb where we are fiscally and then cooperatively approve a budget. This process was started already. And the community turned down a levy increase that would have given us a bit of breathing room for 5 years while we crafted a solution to the funding of our police, fire, and EMS. Personally, I believe that was a mistake. But as mayor, I must say we have asked the question and it was answered. We must now do what we can with the resources that we have and look to other means to increase our revenues through business, recreation, and residential growth. One of our next strategic goals was responsive governments. In that, we set goals of increasing open and transparent governing, effectively delivering services to our citizens, providing facilities and infrastructure that support our current and future needs, and managing our finances in a fiscally responsible manner for a stable governance. This year, the council and community will tackle a revision and updating of our city charter, which provides the framework for how we want our community to be governed. It sets the tone as well as guides us as we create a community that is in keeping with the values shared by those that live here. All charters will require periodic updating to remove language that is both archaic or has become vague, and to address changing social issues. This will be a community and council effort, and ultimately will reach the citizens in the fall election time of 2022 for approval. I'm looking forward to getting this underway. Our city administration will continue to improve access to the functions of the city through our website. Already the material and resources you can find there have been greatly enhanced. I have been working with our rare intern, and in the next month you'll see a new feature, which is the mayor's and council members page. It is no small task to keep us on the rails, and I'm grateful for the strong leadership that we have in our city administrator, Brian Cutchin, and the efforts he has worked toward our community. I would be remiss, though, not to mention 2 individuals who have delved deeply and come back up breathing into our financial situation. These 2 are Bill Jones and Eric Kaitola. Bill served until June, and we are very fortunate to have Eric come behind and fill his shoes. Both have brought to us a better understanding of budgeting, and I thank them for their hard work. And to the community, please let us know how we can be more responsive to you. We can craft things to be responsive, but ultimately we need to know from you what you need, and then we can take steps to create ways to communicate with you either better or give you resources that you need. Being responsive, though, sometimes means getting out of the way. When your resources are severely limited, you have to use what you have. We have seen an increase in volunteerism, or perhaps just new volunteers and new ways of volunteering. Don't get me wrong, and don't misquote me here. This community has a very long and strong tradition of volunteering. Our local food bank is an example of decades of service, as is the Toys for Tots program. Our volunteer fire program has been the backbone of our community fire safety for many years. New volunteer efforts that are what can be called grassroots are springing up. Cleanup crews, beautification efforts, enrichment work through the theater group at the WAC, caring for the less fortunate, and a community yard debris program. These are all spearheaded by individuals who need balanced support moving forward. Our job as city government is to facilitate their efforts in any way possible, and then to get out of the way. Helping in our community, whether it is a grassroots effort, a standalone organization, or the city, needs individuals to continue to remain strong and viable. So if you have even slightly considered or thought about volunteering, please reach out and become involved. A word here about Oakridge Westford Chamber of Commerce. This organization, under the leadership, excuse me, Scout, no, excuse me. I don't have children, I have a dog. What can I say? The Oakridge Westford Chamber of Commerce, under the leadership of Linda Kammerer, has taken the lead in helping our businesses wade through this difficult time in COVID by supplying PPE to them, as well as reaching out and helping them apply for the various grants and waves of assistance that have come from the federal and county and the state. And I'm very grateful to that organization and to her personally for taking that on. Sometimes government gets out of the way, and sometimes it creates the way. Oakridge Air is up and running strong, and this is a prime example of how government takes action to improve a community. It is only government, the local, state, and federal branches that can accomplish what has happened here for us. We can thank forward-thinking individuals in our community who saw that Oakridge was being asked to comply with an unfunded mandate, a compliance that would, although benefit our community with their health and economic well-being, was also unable to be attained through just our small resources. And they went after creating a solution by partnering with governmental agencies and pushing the boundaries. Oakridge did that, and we should be proud of ourselves. I am intimately acquainted with the difficulty of moving a community or a county into a healthier situation, providing both a carrot and a stick when necessary, and both are necessary. And an example of courage takes a leap. The strong economy is important for our strategic goals. Whoop. How's that? Is that better?
Yep.
Strong economy was identified also, and 3 goals were put in place to improve the city's economy by focusing on increasing living wage jobs, training and education opportunities, sustainably develop and market the recreation tourism industry in a way that benefits both residents and business, and improve the city's economy by creating an atmosphere that is open to business. This year, we have been fortunate that our city administrator took the initiative and secured interns to assist with projects of our community. Specifically, our RAIN intern, she has been tasked with economic development. And economic development is crucial to a community, not only enhancing the existing businesses, but recruiting and capturing new business will increase our income stream, allowing us to provide better service to the community. Having an intern to focus and provide support is essential, and we are seeing the results. I cannot stress how important it is to have someone to assist the admin as well as assist volunteers in their efforts and to keep forward motion. We are seeing activity in the industrial park, and I expect this council to keep the economic growth and stability in the forefront of our conversations at all times as we help our business community recover from the disastrous year that we have had with COVID. Oakridge is fortunate at this time to have individuals who are dedicated and determined to see growth in our community, both on our council and in our general population. One such individual among many is Sarah Alton. Her
You're
determination.
cutting out again, Kathy.
Thank you. How's this? Am I better here? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. One such individual among many is Sarah Ultimus Pope, whose vision for Oakridge, her determination to form a force collaborative, and her opportunities, threats, and forward motion. My poor computer just can't handle this anymore. She is a homegrown asset, and a big thank you to her. At school is our job to encourage and enable these efforts to succeed. If we have the courage it takes to be unafraid of change. Included in this goal is developing and marketing recreational tourism. We are a recreation hub, and ignoring that aspect of our economy is both foolish and short-sighted. Recreation is here, and it will shape us, or we can shape it. I intend to push the council to look at specific ways we can increase our recreation income and support business and community efforts in this area. It's time to actively and wholeheartedly embrace it as a way to improve our economy. Community livability is the 4th item that was identified as important in our strategic goal. To work with community partners to provide recreation, education, and enrichment, to find creative ways to work with the public and private partners to increase housing, and to seek opportunities to revitalize business neighborhoods. Livability is a broad stroke and encompasses so many things, but I want to focus on opportunity, housing, and revitalization. We must this year get serious about abating derelict housing and serious about bringing in new housing. This is a priority if we are to survive. We don't have housing to go along with them. And the trestle path this year begun. With educational signage and seating, this becomes an attractive feature, providing walking and biking paths for our community. Council did not pass the improvement of Highway 58 as proposed by ODOT This was our prerogative, but we now cannot ignore the beautification of that roadway and the improvement of the safety for the community. This council cannot afford to ignore this important task. Let's go back to challenging and rewarding. To gain reward out of challenge, we must bring our best game. Council this year isn't going to be easy. We're going to have to be disciplined, and we're going to have to bring our best to the task ahead. We will have to work at being cooperative. We will have to work at being respectful to one another's ideas. We will have to work at being open-minded and willing to learn. We will have to have courage to make long-lasting and sustainable. I am committing to do this, and I hope that you will as well. Community, looking for the positive and looking for answers to the issues isn't the sole responsibility of your elected council. It is yours also. I challenge you to ask yourself what the answers are when you see a problem, to look for the positive. In that, I want to thank Joy Kingsbury and also Rick Yarborough for doing just that. Joy with your journalistic gift, and Rick with your positive determination to clean up our neighborhood. 2021 is here, so let's get to work, everybody. Let's move on then to next piece of paper. Council comments and announcements, that's number 8. Counselors that are new, this is your opportunity to make any announcements that you have. Let us know of things that are coming up, and to make any comments that you would like to make at this point, over and above the work of the council. So I will open it up to council, and go ahead and unmute yourself, and if you have anything to say.
Hey, Kathy, real quick.
Yes, Melissa.
Can we get that email to us, or can I, because you cut out?
I would be happy to. I will be posting it, and I think Brian's going to put it on the city website. And as soon as we're done here, I will email it out to the council.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Oh, dear.
I had something, Kathy.
Councilor Kenyon, go ahead.
I wanted to find out, I was reviewing some notes from public comments in previous meetings and noticed that Trudy has actually spoke to the council several times about ideas of wanting to connect with the city with her animal control business.
Yeah.
And so I wondered if, has the police department reached out and met with Trudy to discuss ways that she could maybe benefit the community with her services?
I'd be happy to put that in the agenda. I know that she has reached out a couple different times and is in communication with Brian. But yeah, we can definitely give Trudy an opportunity to discuss that further if you'd like.
Yeah,
Mayor,
I think that, go ahead.
The CA here,
Heard something.
we did connect the 3, the chief and Michael and Trudy this week via email, and to arrange some time to see if there are opportunities there for mutual opportunities.
Terrific.
Great.
Anything else, Dawn?
That was all I had.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I'm
Is
sorry.
there something
I'm
else?
very sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes. I just remembered that this is the time that I want to address this. In public comment, we saw Kelly Maxfield, who looks amazingly a lot like a former counselor that we had. She's adorable. I thought maybe Trish was online. But I wanted to point out that I did see her post on Facebook, and I saw that at least one other person had a similar issue with the water department. And so I thought that should be noted. And maybe if there have been any other, people complaining along the same lines, I'd like to make sure that they all get updated on whatever progress comes of this.
And Mayor,
that's possible.
CA,
Or maybe a community.
So
Sorry.
after speaking
Go
with,
ahead.
so we've had some historical problems with the legacy e-billing software that came with Assist, which is our antique accounting system. So it's not being supported anymore that we can tell, which is why you see a secondary e-billing process that we try to push people towards. But I did not want to disenfranchise the folks that are already taken the time to sign up with the old e-billing software. So I've got Eric looking at it on what we can do to move ahead, and whether we need to look at a whole nother system entirely that will interface appropriately with Assist, our accounting software, to be more accurate. And the e-billing software that you're seeing the mistakes in, it pulls directly from the readings that we get, and we really have no fingers in that process when it comes to billing. So that's why I've tasked Eric to look at alternatives and come up with some proposals with what that might cost.
All right, thank you. Okie doke, let's move on then into yes. Did I hear?
I want
Audie?
to.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Okay, and the thing is if we get any information, so it's clear to everybody, if we could send a flyer out in the water bill to let everybody know what's going on too. That's probably the best way to inform everyone, instead of just catching one or two people.
Yeah.
And other people may not be able to have the computer or the access to it, and they're still having the problems. That way we could address it to everyone.
Well, let's see what we come up with as a solution, and looking toward replacing or somehow beefing up our antiquated system, and get to the point where we have answers as to why we're having glitches in some of the billing. And it's not, it's not obviously community wide, but even one or two is stressful for someone who gets a bill and sees that it's wrong, or has a zero. So let's see where we are with this, and then we will report back to council about what the necessary corrections are to it, and then we can talk about the best way to push that information out at that time. Okay, let's move on then. We're now moving into the consent agenda, number 9. And the consent agenda is an opportunity for us to put together several things, or sometimes just one thing, to be able to make a motion to pass it quickly without discussion. If there is any time there is something in the consent agenda that you believe that you would like to discuss, that then you need to make a request to move it out of the consent agenda so that we can have discussion. There is no discussion about any of the items when we have them in our consent agenda. So today, all we have is an approval of minutes from December 17th in our consent agenda. Does someone have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yes, I make a motion we approve our consent agenda.
Thank you, Councilor Whitney. Do I hear a second?
Oh, I'll second it.
Thank you, Councilor Kenyon. I appreciate that. And Jackie, will you please call for a vote?
Yes. Mayor Holston,
Aye.
Councilor Bjarnson,
Aye.
Councilor Coker,
Aye.
Councilor Spleedoff,
Aye.
Councilor Hollett,
Aye.
Councilor Kenyon, Councilor Whitney.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. That consent agenda passes. Let's move on to number 10, which is business from the City Council. For our first order of business, 10.1, is the election of a City Council President. If you refer to your packet, you will have the agenda item will be in there. And for this is something that our charter in section 17 lays out as the president of the council. And at our first meeting, after this charter takes effect, this is old language, and thereafter at the first meeting of each odd numbered year, this is 2021, the council shall elect a president from its membership as provided in its rules. In the mayor's absence from a council meeting, the president shall preside over it. Whenever the mayor is unable to perform the functions of the mayor's office, the president shall act as mayor. Currently, our council president has been Chrissy Hollett for the last 2 years. Thank you very much, Chrissy. We are now moving into another 2-year section. So at this point, councilors, it is up to you to put forth a name, and then we can discuss if you would like. We can, if you have questions that you want to ask about it before you put forth a name, we'll kind of keep this a little bit loose, but at some point we will have to vote on a council president. And I won't say within the next 5 minutes, but there it is. So Councilor Kenyon, you look like you're about to say something.
Am I not always about to say something?
I did not say that.
I'm sorry. It was all my thought. I just wanted to inquire, is this something that we should just have a little conversation about and then make a nomination, or should everyone throw out their ideas for nominations?
Well, I think we can have a conversation about it. First, I think of that conversation being, does everybody, including our new counselors, understand what this is? And we do have a sitting council president if you have questions. Okay.
I understand.
You understand? Okay. Michelle, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Understand.
Okay. And Melissa?
Yep, I understand.
Okay. All right. Good. So I know it seems like a very awkward thing because, you don't want to nominate yourself. You're not sure if you should nominate someone else. But this is an obligation that we have. So I am willing to entertain a suggestion.
I'll make a nomination.
Go ahead, Melissa.
I nominate Chrissy Hollett to serve as council president from January 7th, 2021 to January.
Do I hear a second to that nomination?
I'll second that.
I second.
Okay. Audie, I'm going to take your second. All right. So Audie Spieldoff seconded that. Now, and at this point, then Dan Barkley, I see your hand up. I'm not sure if you accidentally hit it, but this is the business portion of the meeting, so I will not be acknowledging anybody outside. But I bet what you're saying is you think that's a good idea. So anyway, let's see. Okay.
Kathy, would we now have a little discussion?
Yes.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask Chrissy, are you comfortable with again?
Yes, I am. It's not really a huge job. I mean, as you all know, I've ran the meetings in Kathy's absence, which there's not very many absences now that we do all of our meetings on Zoom. But I mean, signing checks occasionally, and yeah, it's not really a huge job, but I'm.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Go ahead, Audie. Do you have further discussion?
I just wanted to thank Chrissy for putting that information out there, and I appreciate it for her willingness to take on the task again.
Okay, thank you. Melissa or Dan? There was a reaction. Oh, okay. Thanks, Dan. I see your explanation. All right. If there is no further discussion, then Jackie, will you call for a vote?
Councilor Hollett,
Like she's
Aye.
Councilor Coker, Councilor
Aye.
Kenyon, Councilor
Aye.
Bjarnson,
Aye.
Councilor Whitney, Councilor Slidoff,
Aye.
Mayor Holston,
And we lost Counselor Hollett, so in her absence, we are going to pass that vote and thank her for her service and wait for her to log back on and inform her that she was elected. So thank you, everybody. Let's move on. And we will have to wait for her to come back on because we need to move on to 10.2, which is something that she wanted to add. I believe what she'd like to do is talk about possible work sessions to get folks up to speed on our council rules so that we can have a discussion about them. So currently we have, Brian, we have a work session scheduled for that's the budget committee. What is our next, do we have a work session already scheduled? Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am. You asked for one in February to talk about, hang on. Trying to recall what it was about, but you did ask for one scheduled in February. I think it's, yeah.
Social media.
So
That's
social
right.
media, that's right. We were going to talk about social media. So let's fold that into this. I mean, we can have a discussion on social media, but we can also have a discussion about any questions that we may have on council rules of procedures. This would entail each of our counselors to come prepared to discuss it, having read through it and asked questions about it. I encourage all of you who are new to read through the council procedures. If you don't understand anything in it or it doesn't make sense, reach out to either another counselor, reach out to myself, reach out to the city administrator and ask a question. Then when we all gather together at a work session, we'll be able to move through it. And I see Chrissy is connecting. Yay, Chrissy.
Sorry, I'm back. Everything froze up, but
not a problem. Chrissy, you are now
Thank
council
you.
president. Thank you very much
my
for
vote was
serving.
yes on that.
And we are in the process of discussing 10.2, which is the work session that you asked that we put together to maybe review council rules. We already have a work session scheduled for February. What was the date, Brian?
It hasn't been set yet. I was waiting before doing that.
Okay, he's going to find it because we were going to talk about social media. So my suggestion is that we fold it in together, and I was just discussing with or asking council and reminding them that means they need to come prepared, having read through it, ask questions about it, and then we can have a discussion about it. Councilor Kenyon, I see your hand up.
Yeah, on that note, it reminded me that I think right after the election, you mentioned, and actually Brian emailed us, a link to some documents that normally come in a booklet for new counselors, which includes the council rules. But I want to say that Brian mentioned in that email that the link he sent was not completely up to date yet. So I wondered if it is now, and if all the information for new counselors is in there for all of us to review. Maybe
Yes.
could we
The link to the
get that?
new council handbook is complete, and they've been given hard copies
Okay.
and made available, so it's good to go.
Okay, good. Which reminds me to remind everyone to make sure that you check your council boxes in the courtroom at City Hall. Michelle, your hard copy is in there of your new counselor book. And also each of you received, let's see, where am I? I'm not being seen because I'm on stop video.
Yeah.
There. And so and in there is also a notebook, Oakridge City Council, that I purchased for all of the counselors to use as they choose this year. So don't forget that is in there. So Brian, did we set a date for that? Councilor Kenyon? Yes. I see.
Did I get one of those books?
Yeah.
In my
I
box
don't know.
at City Hall?
A hard copy? Brian, does Dawn have a hard copy in there too?
The new counselor handbook?
Yeah.
No,
Did you have one from before?
I do have one from before, but I don't have whatever you just showed us, and I wondered if I I could get one of those.
Yeah, if
You mean-
obviously if any counselor, old or new, needs a handbook, I'm happy to print one out.
John, are you talking about what I just showed you?
Yes.
Yes, everybody got one of those. All of the counselors.
Oh, okay.
I bought these for all the council.
Mayor, I'm sorry, Mayor, what did you refer to?
I'm just referring to the notebooks that I had done up. There's nothing in them. They're blank.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Says Oakridge City Council. Nothing there. Yes, Audie, I see a hand.
Yeah, I didn't, there was none in my new booklet that I received.
I just put them in your boxes today.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's just a reminder to be sure and go in there and check it weekly. Any information, any letters. So it is important to check your box because not only will you receive communications from the city, but very often you get mailings and sometimes citizens will address something to you addressed to City Hall. And so we put it in your box. So that's, it's a good thing to check. Okay, so Brian, did we determine if we set a date for a February work session or not?
No, it has not been set yet.
Okay, all right. Let's get a doodle poll out there so we can get a work session in play. Chrissy, you are the one who brought this up. I need to make sure that we have covered what your intent was. I was reading your
So
mind.
my intent is that we first and foremost give the new counselors an opportunity to thoroughly go through the council rules, because I think we all believe that they are very important and it is a little bit to take in. And so it's a chance for them to do some Q&A with us and us to discuss things so that we're all a good working team. But I also feel pretty strongly that there's a couple areas in our council rules that we are not following, and they have been identified. And so they need to be brought back up to the surface, and we need to discuss them again and find out which direction we need to go. And whatever that direction is, we either need to follow it or change the council rules. So I don't think that would be something that would take 1 hour. I would imagine it would probably be a longer work session.
Okay. Well, I think, Len, given that, let's make sure, so if you will communicate with either me or the city administrator when we get to that point, what your concerns are there or your thoughts so that we can structure an agenda to make sure that we address all those. As well as going through it and just having a good, strong discussion about why we have the rules we do and how they are implemented, then we can move forward with that. So Brian, you're going to send out a doodle poll so we can get a work session established?
Yes, ma'am.
That sounds awesome. Okay, so Chrissy, I'm going through my things here. You also wanted to bring up the contracts that we have with Westford, as well as the contract that we have with our city engineer.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay, so city with Westford. So I would ask that you that we put these on a future agenda item, that you get with the city administrator with any questions that you have about those contracts to make sure that you are clear.
Sure.
Before we move into them. And that way he can write out an agenda bill as to what the issues are that you would like to address.
Well, I can do that with the Westford thing. I can email that, but the one about the engineer, I think that's a council discussion, and it's been put on the back burner to talk about the RFP. And that is my intention, is that we look at the old contract for the engineers so that we all have a fresh set of eyes on it.
Okay.
And then we start working on.
Okay, so Brian, will you put that on the agenda for the first meeting in February, that we review the RFP for the city engineer?
Yes, that will be.
And council can discuss next steps.
Okay.
I think she said contract.
Right.
Yes, contract.
Contract.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
review
sorry.
the
Did I say
contract.
RFP, Dawn? Okay.
Yeah, you
Thank
did.
you. Thank you for correcting me. Now, did I cover the things you asked to be added?
I think
So 10.2, the work session, 10.3, the contracts. And you'll talk to Brian, and if you determined that, you know, after discussing with Brian, the West Fur, that you want to move it onto an agenda item,
Sure.
just go ahead and we'll do that.
Sure.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's move on to business from the city administrator, 11.1. Brian, you're on.
Okay, 11.1 is to get council's blessing on two events, two Oakridge disc golf course events. It's the exhibits I presented were the requests and from the club and the COVID guidance that we've asked them to comply with as they hold these events. We're looking for a motion from the floor, and so the two events, one is a week from Saturday, the veterans one, and then they have one the following week, I believe. So they're requesting basically to hold the event at the OIP Park, the disc golf course, and they're requesting a fee waiver for the park and for the overflow parking to accommodate the number of guests, and they're requesting the permission for people to bring alcohol in their bags and have a beer while they're playing golf. Since the alcohol is not going to be sold and it's going to be carried in by themselves, there's no OLCC permit required. As I mentioned, the overflow parking would occur in lot 7 of the OIP, which is the fenced lot where the water tank is. And again, they've signed off on the requirements for COVID. The impact for the council, if they approve the fee waiver, is $1,000 in forfeited revenue for park rental fees for both, if you look at both events together. Your options are to approve the application as written, or put some limitations on it, or deny the application altogether. And the motions before you, but for as all in Jason Niemer is also, I believe, dialed in if you have specific questions about the event itself.
Yes, Brian, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm here for you, Council.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Jason. So council, I would like to take these one at a time, and I'm sure there'll be some general questions also about this. I will start out by just saying these are two separate events. One is put on, and just to make sure that we've all looked at this carefully, one, the Veterans for Vets, is put on by the Oakridge Disc Golf Club. The second one, the Old Mill Webfoot Series Disc Golf Tournament, Jason is acting as sponsor, and I believe it is a University of Oregon intercollegiate athletic event or something like that. They have a golf club, disc golf club, and they will be using it. The difference between the two is that Old Mill Webfoot Series is pretty self-contained. They bring their own porta potties, they take care of everything like that, and travel throughout the state of Oregon to do competitions. The Veterans for Vets is specific to Oakridge and is a benefit for our veterans here. Is this going to the American Legion, or where is that money going?
Yeah, the American Legion 0064 Cascade.
Okay. Okay. And this is the first event that our disc Hush has put on. So council, I will open it up to any questions before we move into any motions, because you may have questions about the use of the disc golf, the park, etc., or just in general.
I have some questions.
Go ahead, Councilor Hollett.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for joining us tonight. I am curious. Gosh, I lost my question. I guess, can you just explain a little bit what the event is and the intention, and maybe
Sure.
if there's a donation?
Yes, thank you for asking, Chrissy. Yeah, so basically the Veterans for Vets, which is going to be happening the 16th. That is basically a tournament that's thrown by a company called Dynamic Discs, and they kind of do these events they offer events for tournament directors to do, and it's a really so they're out of Emporia, Kansas, where actually the Veterans Day started actually. So they're really into supporting veterans, and so they decided to run a trilogy event. They call them for Veterans for Vets. So basically, what happens is you buy a certain amount of players packages, which in this case we bought 72 of them. Because that's the amount of player packs we were able to get in the COVID situation. And that from there, they give you a really good deal on it because they want you to raise money for the veteran organization of your choice. So basically it's a fundraiser for a veteran organization, a local veteran organization, run through a disc golf tournament. And yes, all proceeds go to the vets. So we did spend a fair amount of money on this. So we spent about $1,700. And we've already made that back through registration plus an extra $220 or so. And then we're going to have a raffle with a lot of different items that we've already gained through various individuals and organizations. And we're going to probably generate, hopefully close to $1,000 for the local veteran group in town. And what was I going to say? I was going to say one more thing. I can't remember. But yeah, so that's basically the gist of it. And having I guess the OIP parking area up top would really help us tremendously, because right now we still don't have a main parking area because the gate hasn't been moved yet at Fish Hatchery. So that's the reason for requiring the parking area up at top.
So I just point out one thing, that if we were to charge you the fees, which I hope we don't, but if we were, then it would kind of negate the whole benefit.
Oh yeah, we lose all our money.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out in case it wasn't clearly obvious to everyone.
Yeah, then we'd be raising nothing for vets, yeah.
And then will vets be coming from all over Oregon, or is it primarily vets that live right here locally?
It's yeah, we actually the tournament, which I can actually send you a link to. It's actually on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, on our Facebook page, and I could even put it on chat or something. But yeah, there's I think there's 14 veterans signed up right now that actually play disc golf and stuff, and we have a few local vets here that are trying it out for the first time. Just to have a little fun and kind of celebrate being a vet. So yeah, there are actual vets playing in the.
Awesome. That's all I had. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Kenyon, I think I see a hand.
Yes. I wanted to inquire, and thank you so much, Jason, for explaining about what that first event is all about.
Yeah.
But my questions were more about the differences between the two applications. The first one, the vet one, says that the distance of noise is going to be 300 feet, and the next one says 500.
Oh, yeah.
So I wondered, are we going to have that much more hooting and hollering?
No. I guess I should have looked at my other application. Yeah, no, not gonna be any difference.
Okay, well, and my reason for asking that anyways was because somewhere on this application, I think the back page or somewhere, it says people have to be notified if the noise is going to travel. Or no, it doesn't. It says the noise levels at your event cannot consistently exceed 80 decibels at the distance of 500 feet from the source of the noise. So so where's 500 feet from the closest spot?
There is a neighbor, Ann is her name. She's in the corner house that's on Roaring Rapids in Coho there, and I've already talked to her about it, and she's been notified. Yeah. We have a pretty good relationship for now.
Excellent. Well, I hope that stays. And,
yeah, I do too.
There was one other difference I remember. Oh, it had to do with the alcohol permit. The first one says
Yeah, I didn't mean
none,
to
and the
put.
second one says
Yeah,
you need one, so.
yeah, none of them needed. I accidentally checked yes on that. I told Brian, I'm sorry about that. None of them need alcohol permits. They're not. We're not serving alcohol. We're not doing anything. So.
Okay,
Well, to correct that, I believe that the city council needs to approve to have alcohol in the park because it's not really allowed unless you get approval.
Yeah, I mean, just frankly, you know, there might be somebody bringing a beer with them to play a round of golf. That's all that it was about.
So so Jason, you're not passing out beers at the end?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, and so my question is whether or not you're asking us to close the park for just this event?
Yes, for these
Will you be-
events, yes.
Okay.
Because they're going to be full up.
I gotta do something in a minute here. Where's Caleb's headphones at?
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Bobby, you're unmuted.
Yeah, so for these events, they're going to be about 4 people per T-pad, and there's just going to be a lot of discs flying around, and you know, it's not to say that people can't walk through the park, but it's just going to be a disc golf tournament that is going to be a full tournament, and we would just like to have the park to ourselves at that point for, you know, it's like a 4-hour long event, so it's not.
Okay,
like
and how do you plan to convey that information to people who may be coming or who may?
We can put park closed signs on the entrances. So I would say right where South Levy Trail meets the course right there, hole number 1. We just put it right there, park closed. We can put another one right where Roaring Rapids and Coho right
Okay,
there.
so I would encourage you to do that. Work with the city administrator to put up signs in the appropriate places.
Sure.
I know there'll be a lot of discs flying around, so we don't want some errant just walker who's walking through the park to enjoy it to get smacked by a disc, not realizing that he needs to look everywhere. Not to say these people will be throwing discs where they shouldn't be, however.
No, not at all. You know, there's the errant shot for sure. And another thing to realize is disc golfers are super, you know, especially when you're playing a tournament players are super polite. Sure. And they'd be, oh, hey, just let me know, you know.
Absolutely, I understand. So the other thing I want to say and point out to you is that typically when there is an event that is planned in a park, you get approval to use the park before you plan the event.
No,
I encourage you in the future to make sure that
I really meant to do this, but this park is so new. Like everything is happening so fast.
I understand. Let me finish.
Oh,
I
sure.
encourage you that in the future that you put in for your permit as soon as you know what day you want it before you plan it. I don't ever want the council to feel like they've been put over a barrel to say yes, although we don't feel that way because we're all happy about this.
Yeah.
And we want to encourage you in this. But for just for the pages that we are about to see in our minutes, I want that pointed out. Councilor Kenyon, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to finish asking my questions if that's okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
The parking that's being requested, it's called OIP, overflow parking. Where's that?
Lot 7.
Is that Lot 7? Oh, up in the industrial park?
The water tower,
Yes.
where the water tower is.
Oh, okay. And that lot doesn't belong to a private
Belongs to the
organization?
Not yet.
city. Belongs to the city.
Okay. Okay, and are we still also using the parking area that's near the levee? That, I think it's lot 4. Would that be used as well?
Not for this tournament, no. We want everyone to park in the same area, just for, you know, consistency and actually, you know, basically it would just help the tournament run better too.
Okay, and are you gonna have like somebody monitoring that parking?
Yep, we're gonna have parking attendants.
Okay.
And we're also putting out, once I'm approved, if that happens, I'm gonna put out a map of how to get there and everything and put that out on the tournament site as well.
Okay. Excellent, thank you.
Audie, I see you have your hand up.
Yes. you talk about alcohol, does that include hard alcohol or just beer?
No, it was just kind of it's more of an offhanded remark. It's just like somebody might bring their own beer or something. That's all. No, it doesn't include anything specific. I just, it's more of a casual thing, and it might not even happen. People might not even drink anything there, and it could be a no alcohol event as well. It was just kind of a. I should really clarified that with Brian. I apologize. That's my apology.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because, hard alcohol, you can get pretty tipsy pretty quick.
Oh yeah. Audie, I understand, man. Yeah, no, I didn't mean to.
Driving afterwards, and who's going to monitor how much beer they drink?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah,
I don't know. That might be quite the sport.
Yeah.
Because now they're on city property, and we're allowing them to drink, and one hasn't drank too much, and they get out and they have a wreck. Then,
drinking and driving, not good. So that's the thing.
Responsible.
We're not promoting drinking. Let's just say that. It just came up. I saw. I was like, well, there might be somebody that brings a beer, so I just wanted to make sure that it was like
to kick somebody out if you see somebody that brings a.
Yeah, kind of, and also yes, we'd say, hey, just be careful.
Well, I think if we indeed wanted to enforce the no alcohol in our park, which we do at various times and during an event, then we would expect you to promote it as a non-alcoholic event, so that people would know ahead of time.
Yep.
So are there any other questions? So Melissa and just a minute, Councilor Kenyon. Melissa and I do see your hand, and Michelle. While I can't see your faces, I am watching for a little hand or for your microphone to pop off.
Yeah, and I have a hand up as well.
Oh, for some reason I can't see the hand in the format that I'm looking at. I'm sorry, Bobby. So please go ahead and Councilor Whitney, ask your question.
Mine was about restaurants.
Good question. Yeah, we're renting 2 portable toilets from Bucks. So one's going to be down kind of in between holes 1 and 2, nice convenient location. And the other one's going to be up top if we are allowed to use the parking area up there.
Thank you, Jason. Councilor Whitney, do you have any other questions?
No, that was it. I think that, just the comment that I think this is a great way to grow this event and grow this park and bring more people here that might like to come here.
Right.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby. I appreciate
it. Councilor Kenyon, before I call on you, Councilor Bjornson or Councilor Coker, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay.
My question was about alcohol and it was already answered. Thank you.
Okay, good. Councilor Kenyon.
And I think personally, I don't think alcohol should be, it should be an alcohol-free event, and I agree.
Thank you. Yeah. Hold on just a minute. Councilor Kenyon.
Well, this little bit of discussion that we had has jogged my thought process on liability. If someone did bring some beer to the park and had too many, and it's at a city park, is the city liable if anything happens? Or do we know the answer to that? Do we need to ask an attorney if we pre-approve that people can drink beer in our parks? Is that a liability for us?
That's what the question I asked too is the city going to be held liable?
Well, when I think about it, I think about the other events we've had, like at Green Waters Park, where they've had beer gardens there, and it's been sold there.
Can I?
How?
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that good point, Bobby, and that's what made me think in the other events where people have sold beer and or alcohol and had alcohol permits, they also have had to have insurance, which provided for anything that came up. And that was why I was concerned, because I know this event's probably not insured.
Well,
Is that-
so the difference in this is that they are not selling alcohol. They're just allowing, if you bring your own container, to be able to drink alcohol. All of our parks are non-alcoholic.
Right.
We say in our rules, there is no alcohol. That's why it's good that this was checked, just so that we are aware that people will be bringing alcohol or may bring alcohol and drink. Jason, just a moment, please. And drink a beer on the premises. I agree with you, Councillor Kenyon. There is a liability there, but in allowing them to use this, they do take the question. They do take the question. They do take the liability on their own to do that. But we have never done this before, as far as saying specifically approved by council, yes, you may drink alcohol at the park during your event. We've always only said, yes, you may sell alcohol. And in doing so, then you have to have a permit and you have to have a designated beer garden, etc.
Insurance.
And then that implies insurance, because that's what you're doing when you get an alcohol permit. So it is a little bit different of a beast. I am of a mind to say I understand, and if they bring it, they bring it. But I also think it's a question, Councillor Kenyon and Councillor Spieldoff, that we need to make sure we understand the ramifications of.
I wanted to actually propose that we would put a stipulation that maybe this be required to be a no alcohol.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It sounds like this is a pretty big question, and maybe the liability isn't worth it, especially since Jason said that it's not really something he was necessarily planning. It just sounded like kind of an afterthought of, well, they might. So
Yep, exactly. And I would agree with everyone here. It could be an alcohol-free event, which it should be.
Okay. All right, then if I think it sounds like if the council is all in agreement that we will add the stipulation that there will be no alcohol at this event.
At either event. So I'd actually like to make a motion unless we're talking
I think
about
that's
it.
a good idea, Councillor Kenyon.
I move to approve the Oakridge Disc Golf Club property rental applications for January 16th and 24th, 2021 with the following modifications. That the parks do not allow alcohol, that there's no alcohol approved for the event.
So that
Um,
alcohol
can I-
is not.
and that.
Can I make an adjustment to that?
We just say that it's an alcohol-free event.
Okay, so the alcohol is not permitted.
Right.
Can I make an adjustment to that?
All right.
I'll second.
And Councillor Hollett, I heard a second. Yeah, is that right? Okay, good. Is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Councillor Spieldoff?
She said just in the park. How about up in the parking lot too? Or is that considered the park too? I think it shouldn't be alcohol allowed on any drinking of alcohol on our city property.
Technically, Lot 7 isn't part of the park, and Lot 7 is an open piece of real estate. I don't know that we have the ability to say no to that.
I would say that since it's in the agenda item, it's listed as part of the rental property for the event.
Okay.
And we are making this stipulation for the event.
Okay.
So I think it would be included.
Okay, that's a good point, Councillor Kenyon. All right, so then that is when we say no alcohol is permitted or consumption at this event.
At the event.
Okay.
Sounds wonderful.
Okay. All right, council. There's no further discussion.
I'm sorry, I had one more thing. Did we approve the fee waiver in that motion?
Oh, you're right. The fee waiver needs to be part of that motion.
I accept that friendly amendment. Let's add and waive all fees for both events.
Okay.
Thank you, Dawn. I'll re-second.
Thank you, Counselor Hollett. So then we have a modification of alcohol is not permitted to be consumed at this event, and we are waiving the fees for both events. Waiving fees, got it. Okay. Jackie, call for a vote.
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Counselor Kenyon,
Aye.
Counselor Coker.
Aye.
Mayor Holston,
Aye.
Counselor Bjarnson,
Aye.
Counselor Splitoff,
Aye.
Counselor Hollett.
Aye.
All right, that passes. Jason, good luck. We're happy to that you're doing this. And are you still looking for volunteers? Okay.
It's wonderful to see your faces up there with masks on, of course. but yeah, thank you so much, Council. I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate everything you've done for us. And this is part of the recreational tourism.
All right. Thank you, Jason.
Dawn's got her hand up.
Counselor Kenyon.
Sorry, I just thought of one more thing when I was scrolling down on the
Yes.
Oregon Health Authority page. It does say a maximum of 50 in the
It does
extreme
say
risk.
that.
And is that, I heard a mention of 72 packages. Is that 72 players?
Yes, that is 72 players. Jason will be limiting the numbers, each tee pad to 4.
Okay.
And that's the recommendation of the Golf Tournament Association, Disc Golf Tournament Association. And so he is going to follow those guidelines, though it does exceed the 50 that we are currently in Lane County, because they are going to be spaced out and only groups of 4.
Okay.
I think it's very appropriate.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on then to 11.2. Brian.
Ma'am, this is your budget officer appointment for the fiscal year budget 21-22. It is item 11.2, and the exhibits included were the proposed budget calendar. Looking for a motion from the floor to appoint the fiscal year 22 budget officer. It's required by the charter, chapter 5, section 21, that we prepare and transmit to council annual city budget. ORS 294-331 requires the governing body of each municipal corporation to appoint a budget officer. I'd like, as the administrator, to request the appointment of the city finance director, Eric Kaitola, to the position of budget officer. No impact here. He's already on the rolls, and the motion is before you.
Thank you, Brian.
I
Yes,
was
Counselor.
just going to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I move that we appoint Eric Kaitola to serve as the fiscal year 21-22 budget officer.
Thank you, Counselor Whitney. Do I hear a second?
Oh. Second.
Thank you, Counselor Splitoff. Is there any discussion? If there's no Counselor Kenyon, I see your hand.
Yes, it actually mentions right here and in our city charter that our city administrator is to prepare the annual budget, and I believe that it didn't happen that way last year, but I don't think it got talked about. So I'm wondering why we would be considering anyone other than what our charter recommends, which is the city administrator.
Brian, would you like to address that?
Yes, last year we did, I can pull out the minutes if need be, but we did appoint Mr. Bill Jones to be the budget officer.
Right.
I can delegate the duties of the budget officer, but yes, I will present the budget to the council. I would be overwhelmed to do it all, okay? So I'd ask that we appoint Eric, the budget officer, but the city administrator will present the budget to the council.
Okay, so to clarify, you're saying that Eric would be the one preparing the budget and you would be the one presenting it?
Yes.
Because our charter actually says otherwise.
Says
What does
Our charter says that the
Counselor,
city administrators to prepare the budget.
so
Well-
I think this is one of those areas that we talked about, that that recognizing duties and archaic language. Brian's authority, his authority is to present the budget and to prepare the budget. The formal budget officer that we are required to have in ORS does not have to be himself, but Eric, as the budget officer, then becomes responsible to make sure that the deadlines are met, that the paperwork is filed. And Brian, being his supervisor, ensures that that happens. It's a matter of spreading duties. We can mince words and appoint Brian, the budget officer, if that makes a cleaner sense to you. But he still will be able to delegate those duties to Eric Kaitola.
I don't believe that's accurate, Kathy.
I know it's accurate. But what I'm saying, we can still make him, we can still make
What would you
him,
like, Counselor? We can make it happen.
yeah, that's, if you are more comfortable doing it that way, then we will do that.
I would like the council to just be aware that they would be making a change in how our charter is written if we approve this.
All right.
And do we want to have our charter followed and have our administrator prepare and present the budget? Or do we want to allow to have someone else prepare the budget?
Okay, so then let's make a motion then and change this, and
Well,
we are going to,
We already have a
I don't think we've
motion on the
asked.
table.
Yeah, we do.
a moment.
I actually had some comments about this, and I.
Go ahead, Councilor Whitney.
So I appreciate that Eric would be the one to prepare the budget, because that is his specialty. That's what his background is. That's what his knowledge is. And he is a specialist in that area. And I think that's the way that we get one of the best budgets possible, is letting our specialists do their job. And I think delegating that to him is appropriate, and having an emotion, I think it's just fine. It's no different than delegating. And I don't think it really goes outside the charter. I agree with Kathy's statement, and I am fine with this motion.
If it goes against the charter, how is that correct?
I don't believe it goes against the charter, because Brian has the ability to delegate work. And I don't believe it goes against the charter. We could have our attorneys look at it.
Well, I believe if we have a charter, we need to follow that charter.
Okay.
Right.
Let me interject here for a moment here. So ORS 294-331 reads, the governing body of each municipal corporation shall, unless otherwise provided by county or city charter, which is what we're talking about, designate one person to serve as the budget officer. The budget officer, or the person in the department designated by charter and acting as budget officer, shall prepare or supervise the preparation of the budget document. The budget officer shall act under the direction of the executive officer or the municipal corporation, which would be Brian, or where no executive officer exists, under the direction of the governing body. So we could, we can read this and mince it in two different ways, but it is very clear in the charter that our city administrator is in effect the budget officer. Do I think that's archaic? I do think it's archaic, and I think as we look to change, we need to look at language like that allows a little more flexibility in the way we govern, and we have a bigger budget than we ever did when the charter was done. But for the time being, Councilor Kenyon, you are exactly right. The charter says that the city administrator is the budget officer. And rather than have a discussion about that, I am going to ask that let's see, I don't remember who made the motion. I'm sorry about that.
That was me, and I will withdraw my motion. Thank you.
Okay. And so with the withdrawn motion, I would suggest that we do another motion, and that motion would be to appoint our city administrator officially as the budget I'm sorry, I've lost my train
The
of
budget
here.
officer.
Thank you. As a budget officer per ORS 294331. Can I hear a motion?
I move that we appoint Mr. Brian Cutchin to serve as the fiscal year 21-22 budget officer per ORS 294.331 and our city charter.
Thank you.
Second.
And who was the second?
Second.
Michelle, was that you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to suggest that people identify themselves, because when I can't see your face, I have to quickly see whether you come off mute or not. So be sure and identify yourself. So Councilor Coker, you have seconded that. Is there any further discussion? Okay, having no further discussion, Jackie, will you please call for a vote?
Counselor Coker,
Aye.
Counselor Holly,
Aye.
Counselor Slado,
Aye.
Counselor
Aye.
Kenyon, Mayor
Aye.
Holston,
Nay.
Counselor Whitney, Counselor Bjarnson,
Aye.
That passes. Thank you. Let's move on then. Hold on. To 12, reports of boards and commissions and committees and admin committee annual report 12.1.1. Brian, can you lead me through this? Oh, wait. One thing I want to say about budget before we move on is Brian has given us a proposed budget calendar in here. This is just, this is a dates to set aside on your calendar. Please make sure that you do that. Also, we had expected to do a training on January 12th. We will not be doing that because that is not available yet. So that January 12th meeting will be scratched, okay? And we will move it on to, Brian, did you have a date you wanted to move it to?
Well, they haven't got the training actually
Oh, that's right.
up yet. So as soon as we see it
That's
come
right.
up, we will set a meeting.
Okay, yeah, so they're just a little behind in getting it up there. So as soon as it appears, we will let everybody know so that we can put that on our calendars. Counselor Kenyon, I see your hand.
Thank you. I wanted to inquire about that. Is this like the League of Oregon Cities training session and we're all going to attend together? Or is this something that we're bringing someone up specifically to Oakridge to train us, or what's
Brian, will you
happening?
explain?
This is the Oregon Department of Revenue standard training that they normally would do, hold sessions throughout the state in person. This year, because of COVID, it'll be a virtual session. So we'll watch the video as part of the training session.
Okay. Does that answer?
Excellent. So, yeah. And is that like a weekend, or do we know?
I have no idea.
Do we get to set our own date, or is it a date that that they set?
I believe it's going to be a pre-recorded thing that, or either that or a recorded session that they held if we're unable to go to the live session. So it'll be one or the other.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay. Great. Okay. Let's move on then. We're going to move into the admin committee annual report. Brian, do we have a report from the admin committee? Oh, I see it.
This is
There it is.
this is
I
the
knew I
report
saw it
here,
once.
and I'll hand it over to the chair of the admin committee, Councilor Kenyon.
Thank you. So we actually kind of had to do our annual report this year via email because, you know, it was so late in the year and I had just joined and whatnot. But if everybody's read through these, I don't know if anyone has any questions, but it was a little bit of a difficult year for the admin committee with the you know, we lost, Trish resigned from the committee, and then notes stopped being taken. So it was really hard to actually go, for me as a new counselor joining the committee, to go and review, you know, what had been done in the time that I wasn't on the committee. So people just gave their input and we threw it in here, and we hope to maybe have a better one next year. But I did want to talk about that point being key, that without minutes, it is really hard to go back and review and see what's going on in a committee.
That's a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for pulling together a report with the help of your committee and presenting it. Is there anything that
Does
you wanted to
anyone
point
have
out?
any questions? Sorry.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, let's move on to Parks and Community Services. Bobby?
You know, unless you guys want me to read this, the committee really did a lot of work to wrap up the IMBA grant and really get that piece done, and which was great. And of course, we've set our goals and objectives, and I don't know them all by heart, but you can see them on here.
Okay.
But I must say, this committee is, I think it's an absolutely great committee. There's a lot of great people on it that do a lot of great work. They've made it very easy for me to be a counselor on that committee because they are very driven and just do a lot of great things. And it's a committee I'm really proud to see operate.
That's good to hear. I would ask you, did the committee consider proposals for a park name for where the disc golf course is located?
We did talk about that, and I believe we were going to bring it back in writing because our recommendations are to come back in writing.
Okay, so that sounds good. I just thought I would ask. I appreciate that. All right.
Yeah. I wanted to inquire on that, if I could ask Bobby a question.
Please.
Could you give us a little update on the IMBA grant as far as are we going to get the pavilion or not, and have we submitted for all the reimbursements yet for that project?
You know, I don't have any new information from that that's different from what we had at our last city council meeting. I don't know if Brian has anything new.
Yes.
Regarding that, because he may.
We got the 50% invoice from the contractor that was doing the restroom, which was in the neighborhood. Looks like it's gonna, if it is actually 50%, there will be money to do the pavilion. So as soon as we get the final bill, we'll move on that once we know that figure that we can work with.
Did we hire an outside contractor? Because I thought I saw city staff out there working on that, on the bathrooms.
No, the bathroom was done by a private contractor, and we also used some local journeymen to do some of the plumbing and the electrical, but our staff, to reduce the cost, pitched in some of that effort.
And is that completed yet, Brian?
It's pretty close. I drove by today and it looked pretty close. So I haven't gotten the final bill, so I can't say it is completed.
Okay. Excellent. Councilor Kenyon, do you have another question?
No, I just was looking for that information.
All right. Great. All right, let's move on to 12.3 Public Safety Committee.
So I don't know. I know Paul was in here earlier. He can speak to this, or he can just have me do it. But Paul, do you desire to do this as the prior chair, or do you want me to go ahead and speak to it? Or are you still here?
Yeah, you can go ahead, Brian.
Okay, thanks. So again, this committee was impacted significantly by the COVID event. So following March, we had very sparse meetings. I think we had a total of 1 until just recently when we started to meet more frequently. We do have some quorum problems at times, but we have been able to meet this past few months. I think there was one that was just not a quorum, so we just did some discussion, but nothing happened there. As you can see, the projects, the plan now is to, obviously they're working the siren issue. They're working on restarting the effort on the Neighborhood Watch program. as well as the reorganization now. And when we meet again and get a new counselor leader, we can go through and move forward with electing a chair and that kind of thing. So it's kind of all there is to talk about, really. It was a COVID thing that was a problem.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And so before we move out of 12 reports for the boards, next council meeting, we will be, I will have some recommendations that I'd like council to approve for chairs for the different committees. So I will be talking to each one of you between now and the next 10 days or so to talk about what committees you would like to stay on, what committees you are on, what committees you would like to be appointed to for those new counselors. So expect that communication, either phone or email. And Councilor Kenyon, I saw a hand.
Yeah, I was actually going to inquire about that same thing.
Okay.
Thank you. But I did want to point out that we would actually be assigning counselors to the committees now, but the committees themselves by resolution will be choosing
That's
their
correct.
own chair. It's not going to be a counselor anymore.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. So number 13 is items removed from the consent agenda, new counselors. If we had removed anything from the consent agenda because we wanted to have discussion, it would have been moved into this area. Number 14, ordinances, resolutions, and public comments. This is a second reading of the City of Oakridge TSP plan. Councilor Kenyon brought up the question as to whether or not we were actually able to pass this in one vote because we had a no vote. It was not unanimous. After consultation with this.
Kathy, you blanked out.
She's frozen.
She froze.
Yeah, she's froze on mine as well.
Turn the heat on, Kathy.
Brian, are you still there?
Yes, we're still here at the WAC.
Can you continue with what Kathy was?
Yes, so we consulted with the city attorney and determined the course of action, to help determine the course of action. So the idea here is to read it the second time so we can adopt it if that's the way the vote goes. I'll start to go through the agenda items and agenda bill, and hopefully the mayor can get back with us. So this is the TSP ordinance 14.1. The exhibits are the links that are provided in the agenda bill to volumes 1 and 2. Looking for a motion from the floor to adopt ordinance 936. There's no fiscal impact on this particular, just to adopt it. So the options are to fully and distinctly read the ordinance and adopt it, to read the ordinance by title only and adopt it, or do not adopt the ordinance or table it or other action. Staff recommends option 2. We did read it in its entirety the previous time that we took this up. And the recommended motions are there depending on whether anyone objects to this being read by title only.
Do we have any motions on the table?
I move to adopt ordinance 936, the City of Oakridge Transportation Systems Plan, read by title only.
A second.
Okay, at this point, if no one objects, I'll read it by title only, and then we can proceed with any discussion. Is that all right, Councilor Hollett?
Thank
Okay, this is City of Oakridge ordinance number 936, an ordinance to repeal ordinance 9840 and adopting the Oakridge Transportation System Plan, amending the Oakridge Comprehensive Plan ordinance number 550.
Do we have any discussion? Any
No.
discussion at all?
No.
If we don't have any discussion, Jackie, can you call for the vote?
Counselor Splitoff,
Aye.
Counselor Coker,
Aye.
Counselor Bjarnson,
Aye.
Counselor Hollett,
Aye.
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Mayor
Aye.
Holston, Counselor Kenyon,
Aye.
Great, that
Right,
motion
that-
passes. Thank you. I'll hand it back over to Mayor Holston.
Thank you, Counselor Hollett. I appreciate that. Okay, let's move on then, flipping over my page to appointments. If you will all refer to your council packets. Item 16.1, Brian, will you get us started?
Yes, ma'am. This is to consider the appointment of citizens to planning commission vacancies. Submitted applications were presented both with the agenda bill and the one that came in a little bit later. The proposed council action is a motion from the floor to appoint applicants into the vacant positions. The commission is seated with 7 citizens. Currently 5 seats are filled. 2 commissioners have terms which are expired, giving a total of 4 vacancies. 3 of these vacancies have 4-year terms and 1 vacancy has a 2-year term. And the city council has 3 applications, actually 4 now to review with the additional 1. Your options are to appoint applicants to fill the vacant seats or do not appoint applicants to fill the vacant seats. We're recommending option 1, and the motion's before you. And I believe, I know that Councilor McClellan, or former Councilor McClellan, was attempting to get here. He may not be here, and so.
Well, I see him
Was he
now.
here?
He's
Okay.
here.
Wonderful. Okay, so your applicants are all online as far as I can tell.
Okay, council, so because we have 4 applicants, I'd like to give each of those applicants an opportunity to introduce themselves and explain to us why they have applied for the Planning Commission, and give each of us the opportunity to ask any questions that we may have. So let's see, counselors. Gosh, the screen is getting harder and harder to see. If all of council will unmute themselves, well, I guess it doesn't really make a difference. I'm gonna try to watch a little more carefully here. Okay, so going down the row, I am going to ask each of our applicants to introduce themselves. George Custer, let's start with you. I have your application before me. Would you introduce yourself and explain why you would like to be on the Planning Commission and what you believe you bring to this, to the commission itself?
My name is George Custer.
I can
you
hear you.
Ms. Mayor? Okay, just making sure. I'm working off my cell phone because I'm down in Eugene. I've been on the Planning Commission now for close to 12 years, and I've learned an awful lot, but there's a bazillion more things that need to be learned to be a good planning commissioner. As a planning commissioner, we work off the strategic plan and comprehensive plan, state and local ordinances, and I feel that it's our job as planning commissioners to basically give the best information we can to the city council in planning, developing our city in the ways that it's brought to us that it's necessary. We need to be able to do that in such a way that we act within the guidance of the Department of Land Conservation and Development at the state level, and keep ourselves from getting in trouble with LUBA or the city council. We don't always get to make the decisions that we'd want when items are brought before us, but we have to follow the rules. So Sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't, but you have to work within the guidelines that we're given. And I feel that over these years, I've done that. I have a lot of areas that I would still like to see our planning commission, though we don't have a city planner. I would like to see our planning commission tackle some tough issues and try to resolve and for the betterment of all of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, George. I appreciate that. I would start with a question. How much training have you had to do this over your past 12 years?
I've been to probably 4 different full and 2-day sessions for planning commissioners about the state. And we've also been given reams of information from time to time from the previous city planner. And I've reached out online to the National Association of Planners to read articles and try to brush up and bring as much as possible. Plus, I have a pretty extensive background in building myself, having to work with city municipalities, and quite often my clients didn't understand why we couldn't do a particular type of addition or converting a garage, but that's what the codes call for, and they're usually for the betterment of that city.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Custer. Council, do you have any other questions of Mr. Custer?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Naudi.
How well do you think you can work with the rest of your council?
I don't necessarily work with council. I work with my planning commissioners. We give recommendations and pass. I'm sorry, say again.
I meant the planning commissioners.
I'm happy to work with them and learn what I can from anybody who brings any expertise or ideas. We've asked for ideas before and would like to get those in writing so that we can bring it to the consensus of the planning commission that yes, this is a situation that needs to be developed further, and then we take it to the city to get permission to run and see if we can resolve a particular type of situation.
Okay, I know you've had trouble with communicating with people in the past.
I have?
I'm sorry, me being one. And I want to make sure that if you get chosen, that this never happens again.
Councilor Splitoff, let's be careful.
Yes, I am.
I think you have to explain yourself. I'm not understanding your point.
I've got to be real careful. It was after a meeting, and I was told that you didn't trust me, you didn't believe in me, and you didn't want to have anything else to do with me. And I was on the planning commission at that time.
Councilor Splitoff, I'm going to stop this conversation because I believe that this may be a personal issue that we don't need to bring forward. I do appreciate your question, Councilor Splitoff. I do appreciate your question about being able to work with others. I think that is a legitimate question. I do believe Mr. Custer answered that question. So let's leave it at that. Any other questions from council?
I have a question.
Councilor Keegan, go ahead, please. I see your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to know, George, if you could describe, you've probably been on the planning commission the longest, what kind of projects have been done in the last couple of years that are outside of the standard variance hearings and, you know, common factors that face the planning commission with requests from people. What other kinds of projects have been completed?
Well, people don't normally bring us projects.
Oh,
and we're a planning commission. We can, if we have a development, say that comes to us through the city planner, which is at this time, city administrator, then we have to act on it accordingly. There's a number of issues such as being able to facilitate tiny homes in Oakridge. Does the city of Oakridge want to allow and amend our regulations within certain guidelines to allow tiny homes? Signage. We have a lot of signs out there throughout the city that are not in compliance. A lot of them have not properly got a sign permit, which is a safety issue. If you hang a sign and it falls on somebody, people think, well, I don't want to spend $150 to get a sign permit. But that's the safety issue that Planning Commission has to deal with. We deal with the safety, welfare, and enjoyment of our community.
I apologize, George. I probably should have been more clear. What I meant by that was I noticed in our city ordinances, chapter 32 in Title III administration for the city, that there's a whole entire section, chapter 32, that guides or it lists the guidelines and duties and responsibilities of the Planning Commission. And so I was reading through that, and there's like 13 different types of things that our Planning Commission is specifically tasked to for the growth of Oakridge. And so I was wondering if you could describe any projects that the Planning Commission has done that would fit into those guidelines that are recommended for our Planning Commission to be working on.
Well, projects come to us, and we also, as planning commissioners, can develop ideas for projects. And like I say, we've worked on tiny homes. We're currently taking a look at the uptown architectural standards, being able to permit Airbnbs throughout our community. There's a number of issues that we're tackling, but we don't pass these. We can only recommend to the council.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. If no further questions, I will move on to the next applicant. Is Councilor Weimholt there? I'm sorry. I must be getting tired. Is Mr. Weimholt there?
Did somebody write me in?
No, I'm sorry. I apologize. I am getting tired.
Okay.
Kathy, I would like.
Surprise to me.
I'm sorry. Hold on, Mr. Weimholt.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you have?
Sorry. Yeah, I wanted to point out, I just noticed since you said you're tired, it is 10 minutes after 9.
It is indeed. Council, what we typically do when we've gone past 9 o'clock, and I'm sorry, I saw it at 8:55 and forgot to go to it at 9, is we move forward in 30-minute increments. I would ask that the council indulge and allow us to move forward until 9:45, since we're at 9:11 right now. Is the council okay with that? And I can go with just a voice.
Yes.
Is there anyone who objects?
Well, I would like to point out that I would be willing to stay, but I don't think we could finish all of these appointments and things in 30 minutes with all the questions and interviews.
I do believe that we can if we move forward. We have 4 openings and 4 candidates. So I think once we get through them, it will be good. Let's, I am reticent to move this to a later time or a later date because we have things that are coming up that we need members on our planning commission for. So Rick, will you please go ahead and introduce yourself quickly and make yourself available for questions?
Yeah, it's Rick Weimholt, 47699 West 2nd Street, Oakridge. I've been on the commission now for 2 years. And I basically ditto just about everything George said. My main interest is Airbnbs and tiny homes. The state has kind of sent out these memorandums here a while back about cities need to start looking at tiny homes and the concept of tiny homes. And I'm seriously interested in that concept. I'm also interested in the uptown architectural design question that came up here a while back. And I think that our group as a whole needs to sit down and seriously take a look at that, because it's an issue that's been raised some time ago, and then it just recently came up again. And I think that the planning commission, it behooves them to resolve that question, not just for the clients who applied, but for any future clients. I personally do not like variances. I think variances should have a time limit. And so that we either, as a planning commission, we either work with the city council to come up with a new rule so that the variance can be eliminated, or we work with the client to try to figure out how to work around that variance requirement that they're looking for. I'm just not a big fan of it, because it leaves open questions. And one of them is signs. Like George said, there's stuff going on out there that just we should be aware of. And
Thank you, Rick.
that's, ditto what George said. I'm done.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate your comments. Council, let's try to be concise if you have questions.
I just have a quick question for Rick. In what capacity are you interested in tiny homes?
Basically, I'm interested in the concept of kind of like a community area where you would set up, you could set up multiple tiny homes in one area. And how do we structure that? How do we go through the design concepts that meet both the city's requirements, and it has to meet not just the city, but it has to meet the EMS requirements, police requirements, because you have to have access to these places, and it can't be just willy-nilly through property. And so it's got to be closely watched and managed. And currently, I've been going through a lot of the state issues about tiny homes right now, and it's becoming a big deal, especially across the West Coast, not just Oregon, but Washington, Idaho, and California all are dealing with this issue of tiny homes. And some areas in California have already passed ordinances to allow it. We just need to figure out how that's going to affect us here, and work with the city council to make it happen.
Thank you, Rick. Any other questions?
Rick, I'm just curious, what do you think tiny homes are going to bring to Oakridge?
Affordable housing.
Thank you. Councilor Kenyon, you had your hand up also.
Yeah, just one. Can you tell me about, what can you tell me about the city's capital improvement program?
The capital improvement program?
Yeah.
I have no exposure to that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to the next candidate here on our list. So, Mr. Dan Barkley, are you there? Go ahead and unmute yourself, Mr. Barkley. I see his name. I know he's there. Mr. Barkley, there you go.
Sorry,
Gotcha.
I wasn't sure if I was going to unmute myself or type it in chat because I'm still confused.
Okay, well, let's talk to you and let's not chat. So
Dan Barkley, 47501 Highway 58. I've been a business owner in Oakridge. By most measures, a fairly successful business owner for almost 14 years now. Prior to that, much of my experience, my Oakridge experience is from a business perspective. And prior to that, I've been involved in anything from authenticating more Tomahawk cruise missile launches than any enlisted man on the planet in another life. I've been the senior enlisted person during a base closure that in a 6-month period, we lost 50% of our personnel with a 66% turnover and still the highest availability of 6 sites worldwide to fleet and national consumers. 20 years of leadership, so to me it's a fairly sacred term, and it's not a word, it's what you do, not what you say. Leaders lead and other people follow, or they get the hell out of the way is the best thing they can do. I'm not well known as a yes person. To me, anything that provides a greater good for a community is automatically a yes, and anything that does the opposite is an automatic no. So my thought process is, you know, and you're never going to please 100% of everybody. So you make decisions that provide the greatest good for the largest number of people, for a city, not a piece of that city, but a city as a whole. And I tend to, I'm the guy, I'm either going to look you in the face and tell you the exact same thing I'll say behind your back. And I'd much rather hurt your feelings by being honest than insult your intelligence by sugarcoating things, because I'm not Willy Wonka.
thank you, Mr. Barkley. I appreciate your honesty and your forthrightness. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Barkley? If there are no, Councilor Kenyon, I think I see you.
Yeah, I was trying to ask. I wanted to know, Dan, have you familiarized yourself with the Chapter 32 of the ordinances, the section about Planning Commission?
At this point, I honestly have not. The ordinances are rather extensive, and prior to the meeting coming up next week or possibly the week after, that will in fact happen, because my worst fear is attending a meeting that I have not prepared for. So I research things, and I ask, you know, I anticipate questions and try and find an answer to the question before it's even asked. I don't have any direct experience as a planning commission person, but I've always risen to the occasion and adapted to whatever the job was.
Thank you, Councilor Kenyon. Councilor
Thank you.
Councilor Spleedoff, you had a question?
Yeah, I want to thank Dan for putting in for this. I went over and read your application. You're the only one that has put extensive information in your application that really goes over and beyond of what's happening. And I've known you for a while, and I believe you are just what you said.
Thank you, Councilor Spleedoff. Councilors, do you have any other questions?
I do.
Councilor Hollett, go ahead.
I have 2 questions for Dan, and one is recently in council we had discussed directing the Planning Commission to kind of take a look at the frontier theme. It's been kind of a constant problem, or I don't know if the word problem's right. It's been an issue ongoing, mostly that there's not really a theme. And so I'm curious on what your thoughts are about that. And then I'd also like to hear a little bit about what your thoughts are on the tiny home.
As far as themes, okay, you've got some, and trust me, in the hospitality business, I understand the detrimental effect of this global pandemic. As far as themes, when you've got, and it's not debatable that there are appearance issues throughout Oakridge. They are not specific to Uptown. They are not specific to the highway, but you've got businesses struggling to make ends meet and putting fresh paint on a building, and yet we want to mandate a design and the cost involved in that design for an entire city. Where I would disagree with it, and not to disparage the applicants before me, but both applicants specifically mentioned a theme for Uptown, okay? The theme should be, it's a city planning commission. The city should be the general appearance of a city, not 6 blocks uptown, not 3 miles on the highway, but the city as a whole. TRT block grants, they have a $500 cap on them, whereas there is no cap on, you know, writing off TRT funds for a permit. Whereas if the cap were raised and more TRT were devoted to appearance type issues, people planting trees or painting or whatever, it's not as out of pocket. It would be an incentive for people to take pride in their own facility and have the means to improve the appearance of that facility. 14 years, Elizabeth and I mean, occasionally we hire jobs done, but she's the painter, I'm the builder. I build it, she paints it. She's painted this motel 4 times, inside and out. We keep the yard tidy, we keep the flowers planted, try and keep the weeds pulled, but I hate pulling weeds, so that kind of sucks at times. But we take pride in what we have, and by $500 is about 1/3 of the cost of paint only. And you know, I think if the block grant program were more active and people had more resources to improve appearance, they might do so. As far as the tiny homes, and again, I disagree, don't mix Airbnb and tiny homes. Tiny homes with the housing shortage are a good idea. For me, most of the homes in Oakridge are tiny because they're that old and back in the 60s and 50s and 40s, like my house was built in the 40s. Smaller homes were fine. People didn't have 2,000 square foot homes. So you got a city full, or a good part of this city is already tiny homes, but there is a housing shortage, in which case there has to be a resolution to that. Airbnb is beyond the scope of council or planning commission. That's regulated elsewhere. And the people that are operating these B&Bs beneath the radar, not paying the room taxes, not contributing to that, they're regulated by other agencies, and it's beyond, to me, it's beyond the scope of council and planning commission, for that matter, to involve themselves in the Airbnbs. It's already regulated by other agencies, whereas tiny homes designate an area, put up some you know, attractive tiny homes that people could live in. Some of the worst, one of the biggest eyesores on the highway is 1-bedroom apartments across from Dollar General that have always looked nasty, but you know, they are what they are, and they provide shelter for somebody.
Right.
But there should be an area that doesn't diminish property values for the entire area.
Thank you, Mr. Barkley. Chrissy, does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right, thank you. If there are no other questions, let's move on to the 4th and final applicant, Mr. McClellan. Good evening, John.
Good evening. My name is John McClellan, 76128 Rigdon Drive. I have not familiarized myself with the regulations of the Planning Commission, but I do understand that it's an interpretation of a lot of rules and laws. Having spent a career in law enforcement and juvenile corrections, you spend a lot of time interpreting rules, laws, and trying to make the best outcome from all those. So I also studied architectural drafting and design through high school, and then after completed a trade school in architectural drafting and design. I've done a lot of remodeling myself, and so I think I have a understanding of that, but I'm also eager to learn, and I think the Planning Commission is a tool of the council and the city to help provide information so that the council and the city can make the best decisions possible for the betterment of the entire community.
Thank you, Mr. McClellan. I appreciate that. Council, do you have any questions of Mr. McClellan?
I do.
Councilor Hallett, go ahead, please.
I'll ask him the same question that I asked Dan. I'm just curious a little bit what your thoughts are on Oakridge's current theme, Frontier, versus what's actually been happening, and then where we could go forward from that, and then also your thoughts on the time.
Excuse me. My thought on the theme idea, I think there's, I think Dan kind of hit on some of that. There's a lot of way to create a cohesive type of appearance for the commercial buildings in the city, and it doesn't necessarily require a frontier theme. I think the frontier theme is not really applicable to what the building structures are in parts of the community. And again, if you're trying to encourage businesses to start up, that's an awful big expense, as opposed to, you know, to try to create that frontier facade while they're trying to clean up the rest of a building and get it occupied. I mean, I think that the city's goal should be trying to get these commercial buildings occupied more than trying to get them to look like the frontier. And I think that there's a lot of ways we can develop like I said, a cohesive appearance of the commercial buildings without the frontier theme. And maybe there's some other kind of theme, but again, I think the bigger concern is filling the buildings with viable businesses more than making it look like a frontier. And as far as the tiny homes, I do think that tiny homes are a way of creating affordable housing for a lot of people. There's a lot of people, I know a lot of people who are living that minimalistic lifestyle and would love to be able to find a place where they could have a tiny home. I definitely think it's something, given the affordable housing shortage of Oakridge, that needs to be looked at seriously. And I don't know, I just think that that's a great way and a little bit of thinking outside the box. So, which I like.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor McClellan. Any other questions from council? All right, so we have Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but we do have 4 empty seats in the Planning Commission. 3 of them are a 4-year term and 1 of them is a 2-year term. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I know that we have 4 applicants. Councilor McClellan desires a 2-year position. And the other 3 both desire a 4-year position, although I think Councilor Barkley, boy, I am tired. Dan Barkley has indicated that he would be interested in a 2-year position. George or Rick, would you be interested in a 2-year position so we know what we're doing?
I'm fine either way.
Okay, Rick,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
would you serve in a 2-year position if appointed to that?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So given that we have 4 applicants, we can do this one of 2 ways. We can vote for each one of them and appoint them to a seat, or we can, as a whole, appoint all 4 to seats with the stipulation that Mr. McClellan will be appointed to the 2-year term. Any thoughts, council? How do you feel about that, Chrissy, as council president?
I think we agreed in the past that we would do them individually, but
All right.
I'm ready to make a motion, and I obviously willing to hear what other people would like to do, but I would like to do them.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's do them. I will defer to that. I think that's a wise course of action. So for the position of seat 1, which is a 4-year position, do I hear a motion?
I move that we appoint Dan Barclay to serve as an Oakridge Planning Commissioner for a 4-year term.
Second.
I second.
All right. Who was the second? Who seconded?
Either myself or Melissa.
Okay, got it. All right. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Jackie, will you call for a vote for appointing Dan Barclay to a 4-year seat?
Yes. Counselor Hollett,
Aye.
Counselor Bjarnson,
Aye.
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Counselor Slidoff,
Aye.
Mayor Holston,
Aye.
Counselor Coker,
Aye.
Counselor Kenyon,
Aye.
That passes. Mr. Barclay, thank you. You're appointed to a 4-year seat. For seat number 2,
I have a motion. I make a motion for John McClelland to the 2-year seat for Planning Commission.
I second.
thank you for that second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Please call for a vote, Jackie.
Counselor Coker,
Aye.
Mayor Holston,
Aye.
Counselor Bjarnson,
Aye.
Counselor Kenyon,
Aye.
Counselor Slidoff,
Aye.
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Counselor Hollett,
Aye.
That passes. Thank you. Mr. McClellan, thank you for serving in a 2-year seat. For seat 3, do I hear a motion?
Yes, this is Bobby. I make a motion that we appoint, sorry, Abby just walked in the bedroom. That we appoint George Custer to the 4-year term.
Thank you. I
sorry.
second that. If there's no discussion, let's call for a vote, Jackie.
Mayor Holston,
Aye.
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Counselor Hollett,
Nay.
Counselor Slidoff,
Nay.
Counselor Bjarnson,
Nay.
Counselor Kenyon,
Nay.
Counselor Coker,
Nay.
That does not pass. Thank you for applying, Mr. Custer. I appreciate your service in the past. And I am sorry that you will not be serving us in the present. And we look forward to having you do other things with us. So we have still seat 3 open. Do I have a motion? I move that we appoint appoint Rick Weimholt to seat 3. Do I hear a second? Having no second, that appointment does not move forward. Thank you, council. We have appointed Councilor McClellan to seat 2, and we have appointed Mr. McClellan to seat 2 as a 2-year position, and to Dan Barclay as a 4-year position. We thank you. That leaves 2 positions open. Community, if you have any desire to be appointed to the Planning Commission, please put in your applications. We are now moving toward number 17, which is public comment. If there is any public comment at the WAC, Brian, do we have anybody there at the WAC other than Joy? And does Joy wish to say anything?
No comments from the WAC, Mayor.
Thank you. Those community members that are on the line, if you have anything that you would like to say, please unmute yourself and identify yourself so that you can be recognized.
Trudy Hammond, 47752 Berry Street.
Go ahead, Trudy.
I'd like to just say congratulations to everyone that has been appointed on council and on commission. The other thing is I'm wondering if Brian can delegate the police department for a sit down maybe, or actually Zoom, whichever works better. Because the email contact with the police department, I'm really anxious and eager to see what I can do to help with the shelter issue that Chief and I talked briefly about. So if maybe we can make an actual meeting happen, that would be wonderful, and I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak from the public?
Kathy,
Yes, go ahead, Councilor Kenyon.
if we have no more public comment, I don't have it in front of me, but I thought there was another appointment on our agenda of some sort.
No,
we could not make it tonight, so we're going to delay her till the next session.
Right. Okie dokie. So I believe that concludes this meeting. Welcome to the first councilors. I appreciate your participation. Audie, Councilor Spielbach, what?
Before you hang up, is there any way, I noticed in the past, setting in on these Zoom meetings, we don't get a video of Brian. Is that something that we could have?
No. I mean, if he chooses to, yeah, but he's videoing all of the WAC, so it's up to each individual, just like you know, the other two counselors that we don't see also. So
it's been asked, so I wanted to ask.
sure. So when we have a guest that is at the WAC, you know, obviously the Zoom shows that person, and that's what it's there for. So we can certainly discuss it though. All right, so thank you, everybody. We managed to finish before the 9:45. I appreciate it. We will see you at our next meeting. Again, I remind council that I will be contacting all of you regarding committee appointments and having a discussion about what your desires and your wishes are in that regards. So good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.